All right, I think we are live now.
We're live. We're doing it.
Yeah, welcome everybody to a very different type of live discussion. One of the things that we talk about as motorcycle enthusiasts is that wind therapy. It's how it feels when we're out on the two wheels or three wheels in this matter. If you're purple on three, riding a Can-Am Spyder, but to get out there on the road, it really changes, from my point of view, your perspective on everything that's happening around you. It's it's the control of the machine underneath you. It's being aware of your surroundings, unlike driving a car. You are in constant check and scan and reaction and planning, and it's nonstop, and it really changes your perspective on everything that's going on. And in a way, it is therapeutic. It is almost you're trained yourself to focus in this certain way. And so with this discussion, we want to talk about that. We want to dive into that experience, that therapy that we all seem to talk about, and never really, give it too much thought. But then again, we know how we feel afterwards. But I think getting into the part of the therapy, really kind of pulling it apart a little bit. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can get that into our daily lives if you haven't already, and just kind of go from there. Just see how it really can impact our lives. So, welcome everyone. Welcome Valorcycle. If you haven't checked out Valorcycle before, he's got a great channel. And from my point of view, I'm like a little fanboy, I guess, because I see and I hear the things that you talk about on your channel and in your videos and even in your Instagram posts, and it really resonates with me. But why don't you go ahead, Valor, and introduce yourself, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, first I gotta say thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for having me on here. This is my first live stream, so I feel like I'm honored to be a part of this. Yeah, so my name's Valorcycle. I'm a schmuck on the internet. I do YouTube videos for fun, focused around I ride a 2020 Indian Scout, and really the focus on my channel is around mental health, moto-therapy. I do a lot of install videos, do moto vlogs, but really wanted to try and build a community of people to come together to support one another and to just kind of get away from all the BS that we have in our lives, and to try and just share some positivity with one another and to really just build each other up. And so, I started doing videos in late 2020. And 2 years later, we just hit 500 subscribers like a couple of days ago. So if I can give a quick shameless plug.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, a quick shameless plug. We're doing a giveaway for 500 subscribers. So if you want to be a part of that giveaway, go check out my channel. Make sure you subscribe, fill out that raffle, fill out that form to be a part of that raffle. So that's my shameless plug for the day.
No, congratulations. It's a huge feat. And it only goes to show that you've got a great platform and a great message that it's really attracting viewers. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So you started a channel in 2020, but when did you start riding? What started you into riding? What compelled you into riding?
So I started riding in 2019. So I had joined the company, and a few of the people that I had kind of connected with and got to know, they all were riding. And then, just as most every other good story starts off, we were out drinking at a bar, and they were talking about riding, and they were just talking about all this cool stuff and different bikes and everything. And one of them just were like, "Hey, you should ride with us." I'm like, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. I've never ridden a motorcycle before. And they're like, "All right, well then go learn." I'm like, "Okay, I'll think about it. I'll genuinely look into it and think about it." And so then when I got home, talked to my wife a little bit about it, and she wasn't too thrilled about that, to be honest. So it was a little bit of time to convince her to let me go and take the total control course, which is like our local version of the MSF course.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just let me try the course. Just let me try that. Let me just see if I like it or not. I'm not going to commit to it one way or another, but just let me see if I like it first. And so I went it, immediately hooked. It was like the second I started actually riding the motorcycle, because you do like the little duck walk and everything else, but when we actually started riding, like, I'm hooked. Like, this is it. Like, this is a whole new chapter of my life. Like, this is it. So started riding, and then bought my first bike off Craigslist. Got a 2010 Honda Shadow RS, and then rode that for about a year. And then in March 2020, just before the pandemic, bought my Indian Scout. So that's really what got me started, was just my buddies just drunken conversation, just saying, hey, you should just go ride and, get yourself a nice big touring bike and go up and down the coast with your wife and do all this other stuff. So they really sold me on the vision of what riding could be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing like that group mentality that like drives you into it. It's peer pressure essentially, but no one's really pressuring you. They attract you enough with their stories and the feelings that they get from riding and whatnot. And there you go, another one for the collective of motorcycle riders out there.
Yeah, and and growing up, my uncle was actually the first person that got my introduction into riding. So he rode a Kawasaki something. I don't know what he actually rode. It was from the 80s. And I remember when I was younger, I must have been like 8 or 9, and would just hold on to the bike for dear life, and then we'd just go out for riding for a long time. So that was really my first experience into riding, was with my uncle when we were younger, and then so he really planted that seed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My first experience with riding was I had to be about 17. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so having a motorcycle was not like a thing to do. Moved out west suburbs, and a friend I had, he rode a YZ250. And there was nothing but farm fields back in the day. So he's like, hey, come on, you want to give it a try? I'm like, yeah, I could figure out clutch and stuff and whatnot. And got on a thing. I'm like, yeah, it's just let go of the clutch and gas. Sure. Pop the clutch. Bike went up in the air. Bike landed on me. I'm on the ground and gets the bike off me. He's like, whoa, Wally, you all right? It's like, yeah. He's like, you want to do it again? Yeah, I want to do it again. Though the experience was short-lived, because I never went and got a bike of my own until a few years ago, but it always stuck with me, and through having kids and whatnot, it was like it's not a priority, but I should have made more time for it. I should have allocated a little bit more into my growth as I guess an adult, but but yeah. So my first bike was, I picked it up in 2019 from a friend of mine, and it was a torn apart Harley Davidson Sportster XLH. So old Sportster, not easy to find parts, because this was during the AMF years, and the parts for this bike are extremely hard to find, and they're expensive. It's a kind of a unique bike because it did have the Siamese exhaust, which came off their Cafe Racer back on the 78 Sportster that they had. So him and I worked on it, built it up, got it running. And I'm like, all right, I finally got a bike, got all the parts on it. He went and picked up himself a Yamaha MT-07. And I started to learn on that thing, and I did a lot of duck walking. That bike was not for me.
That's a hell of a starter bike. I mean, it can be done, but you got to be careful with that a little bit.
Yeah. So that definitely wasn't my bike, but getting into 2020 pandemic time, they shut down all MSF courses. So I'm kind of just like, figuring out things on my own. Unfortunately, the friend that I bought the bike from, he ended up passing due to some complications with diabetes. So it was really tough time for me. But later in 2020, I finally shook off, the the pain and depression of losing him. Went out and found an MSF course that was about an hour and a half away from me. It was on a small airport tarmac, and they had the whole course laid out, and I in a weekend got my MSF course, basic one rider, and was able to go get my license, and from there was riding my Sportster into 2021. Nice. And then I said, you know what? It's not fast enough for me, because all my buddies that are now that I've got a bike, they started like, oh, hey, I ride. I'm going to go get a bike. And I got a bike. I bought a 2016 Sport Glide. I had a bike that had and one was it Kawasaki Ninja 1000 RR. That thing was crazy. You could stand it up, but these guys are going. I can't keep up with them. Wanted to move into the cruiser stage, and I checked out the Softail. Softail wasn't for me. Indian came out with the Super Chief, went out and test rode it, and the day I test rode it, I bought the dang thing. So I've been riding that. So yeah, nice. I absolutely love it, and it's been a world of difference for me, and how much I cherish the time I have on the bike, and just kind of driving that into how I cherish the time in my interactions elsewhere.
Right. And, it really is a special time. It's such a unique experience that I have personally never felt in any other capacity. Mm-hmm. And trying to articulate what the experience of riding a motorcycle is to anybody else who has never ridden a motorcycle, I have not yet found a way to accurately describe it to where they get it, right? It's one of those things, like, you just have to experience it to get it. Like, I've never heard it articulated in a way. I've never figured out a way to articulate it in a way to explain it. And it's such a visceral experience. And I think that's what's really special about it. So every time you can get on your bike and just go ride, it truly is like that one-of-a-kind special experience, because every single time you go out riding, the weather's going to be a little bit different. The conditions can be a little bit different. You can take different routes. So all these different things, like, you just, at least personally, I just don't get bored of it. Even though I ride the same route like most every weekend, I've been doing that for 2 years. And still, and like trying to find every single opportunity I can to go out and do it. And it's such a special thing. And, I think that's really what has kept me going, and really what inspired me to really focus the channel on that mental health aspect, because that wasn't something I was even familiar with. I got on the bike, I started riding, and then went, there's something going on here. Like, my outlook is way more positive, and I'm not struggling with some of the things that I was struggling with before, and that's when I was like, this is actually a therapeutic. There is actually a therapeutic element to this that I hadn't expected. So it was a really nice surprise when I started to delve into it a little bit more, and finding out that Moto-therapy is actually a thing. And then, started following a whole bunch of YouTube channels as well as I started to ride. And they also started talking about, Moto-therapy and wind therapy and all this other stuff. And I went, what the hell are they talking about? And then that's when I started to really get into it. I get it now, right? It's just experience. Like, I get it.
Yeah, and it's funny though. With me living in the Midwest, there's not a lot of riding season for us all year long. So seasonal depression when you're a motorcycle rider really is kind of like a double whammy. So you get to stand in the garage and stare at your bike for a while, and maybe start it up here and there. But yeah, and you're absolutely right. The feeling you get from riding. I think when I was finally just like everything was piecing together, and my confidence on riding a motorcycle, drastically improved, because, starting off, I'm not thinking about therapy right now. I'm thinking about, oh my God, am I going to kill myself? But I think that mentality is kind of driven in you from the public view of motorcycle riders. It's that, oh my gosh, you're gonna end up wrapped around a tree, or somebody's gonna run you over, and this and that. And it's like, yeah, no, that happens anywhere. That happens in a car or whatnot. But yeah, once I started getting when things started clicking, it became, for me, it was like flight. It was the fact that I, well, for me, I put on cruise control and I could just sit there and glide and just shift and just feel something you don't get on four wheels. And I haven't experienced anything else like that. I haven't jumped out of a plane yet. I haven't scuba dived. I haven't done a lot of these things that I still want to attempt. But I haven't experienced anything that compares with riding a bike.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't have cruise control, so I can't talk to that one. but to the experience that you get, and the more comfortable you get, the more you ride. I remember the first time I went, basically the first time I went riding, when I got my license, my buddy, one of the ones who I got drunk with, and was like, "Hey, you should go buy a motorcycle and come ride with me." So he came over and we rode, and I was going like 30 miles an hour the whole way. And the speed limit's like 35, 45. But I was so freaking scared of just like dropping the bike, or just getting overwhelmed with all these sensations of like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then like that first ride was like 30 miles an hour. And then I told the guy, I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going really slow, but I just want to get comfortable with this first, because this was part of the agreement with my wife where I won't die and I won't be reckless. The only reason why she allows me to get on a bike is because I promise her I don't ride recklessly and, won't go outside of my limit. So, and he's like, no worries, dude. No, you're learning. You're doing great. And I was like, all right, cool. And then even like the next ride after that, then I was going like, okay, 45 and then 55. And then, now I speed all the time, and I've gotten pulled over for it before. But now it's like, one of my more recent videos, the consequences of the road warrior fairing is you lose that wind sensation. So now I find myself going like 90, 100 miles an hour, and like, that's not good. But as you grow, you learn more of those skill sets, and you get more comfortable. But then you really get to experience the ride more and more and more. And then you can like dip a little bit farther, you can go a little bit faster, and you can really start to take advantage of what that experience has to offer.
Right. You're essentially becoming one with the machine.
Right.
That's very cliche, but anyway, I mean, it's true. It's true. It's like you become that vehicle. You feel every bump in the road, and you can read everything a lot different than when you're in a car. Do some of us have loud pipes? Yes. Do some of us listen to music when we ride? Yes. But is that just taking away from us from what the experience is? I don't think so. I think it adds a little flavor to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you want to ride, right? It's an individual experience, and if that's what brings you happiness, and that's what livens up the experience for you, and that heightens that experience for you, go for it. I mean, who's any of us to say, no, you shouldn't be listening to music, or no, you shouldn't be doing that, or no, you shouldn't be doing this. I mean, in my mind, as long as you're not being an absolute dick and you're not overtly putting other people in danger,
yep,
you do you. Like, who am I to say you can't do certain things that I may like or you may not like or whatever? It's it's an individual experience. So as long as you're not compromising somebody else, go for it.
Exactly. And for those that do watch this video, or are watching now, or watch the replay, if you don't ride, know that we're on the road and we're watching for you. You may not be watching for us, but we're always watching for you. And we're not like you said, we're not riding like jerks on purpose. Well,
most of the
majority of us, we don't have YouTube channels to showcase those skills and look at us go down a highway on one wheel. That's not us. However, we're watching out for you. We want to get to our destination as much as you do. So keep an eye out for us. We'll keep an eye out for you, and let's share the road. Wow. Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm much more of the guy where it's like, I'm enjoy the ride, to the destination. The ride is a part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to get to the destination as fast as possible most of the time, but for me, for the people who are like popping wheelies and everything else, I'm like, yeah, do it, but just in the right environment. Because I see stuff all the time because I live in the Bay Area, and so traffic's notorious in California, and I'll see stuff all the time of like write her down, and check on your people, and 9 times out of 10, it's people riding perfectly safe, and it's just the hazards of just being around so many cars and other things. But then occasionally you'll see things of just people being absolutely reckless, and then ending up pay for it. And then that's where I'm like, that's not really my crowd. You do you, but that's not really what I'm in it for. I'm in it more for just the enjoyment of it, and more for the ride and for the aspects and for things that we touched on a little bit earlier.
Right.
So that's not really me, but there's different communities, and that's one of the nice things about the motorcycling community is there's so many different kind of like groups within this community. So for anybody who's like not riding or who's intimidated, you can find a community of people within the broader motorcycling community to fit in with. It's not always like the hooligans or people popping wheelies and doing all this stuff. It's not all like the Harley guys. It's not just cruiser people or sport bike people. There's such a diverse community of people that you can find people to connect with. So there was a few people I was talking with, and they were like, nah, I don't like motorcycling, because all they thought about it was that bad boy Harley culture. And I was like, that's not it though. There's so much more than that. And to not give it a shot is kind of, you're letting yourself down. You're missing an opportunity here to not at least look into it. So it's just that stereotype that some people still have.
Absolutely. And what I actually find interesting inside this community, I see a lot of art and talent. A lot of people that I've talked to play instruments and are painters, or they customize their bikes or whatever they do. And it really is a part of, riding a bike is like a part of you and your self-expression in a lot of cases. If you guys haven't gone to any of the custom chopper shows and whatnot, go check it out. Go check out a bike show. It's not about just people burning their tires off. It really is a way for people to express themselves. It's an outlet, and it's at least a healthy one.
Absolutely. And to your point earlier, the machine really becomes an extension of yourself, right? And that's one of the things that I've put on my bucket list now, is to basically revive old bikes, and to essentially, you kind of almost like put a piece of yourself into that machine when you either when you even just customize it, you paint it, you put add-ons on it, you mod it, whatever. But now kind of like the next thing for me is to bring something back to life. And that's something that was also a nice thing that I didn't really think about getting into motorcycling, was the mechanical part of it. I never worked on my car before. Like, I knew the basics of like how to change your oil and how to change a tire and that type of stuff. But beyond that, I had no clue. And then that was one of the reasons why I got the Scout, was because I knew I was going to work on it, and this was something that I wanted to do. And it's such a diverse platform. There's like, you can do so much stuff to that bike. And so that's really one of the things that led me to get that bike. And then just getting through that, I'm obsessed with just tinkering and doing stuff to the bike that I honestly don't need to do at all. But it's just kind of like, now it's an addiction where it's like, no, I think I really do need to get that mod, or no, I think I do need to change this up, or yeah, I need a third set of handlebars, or yeah, I need another fairing and all this other stuff. Or no, I need to redo the wrap on the bike now. Even though it's like no one ever noticed that tiny little bit was starting to fray, but I saw it, so I'm like, okay, gotta do the whole thing over again. So it's the whole thing where you get to work on it, and it really just becomes a part of you and how you can express yourself as an individual, but also just as a writer, it kind of just shows, here's my identity in a way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Working on an old bike, especially if it hasn't ran for years, once you breathe life into it, it's a thrill. It brings a tear to your eye. Well, at least it did for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I don't know if you follow Brandon Picasso, but he bought a wrecked
Yeah.
Chief, and he's bringing that one back to life. I was like, oh no, this is going to start an addiction. I already know. So like that day I was looking at auctions for old wrecked bikes and everything else. I was like looking into it, like, okay, no, but now's not the time. Now's not the time. I don't have the time or the space for it.
The space is a hot commodity in the garages. Yeah, no, what he's doing, it's like there's going to be a point where if I do something like that, if I do get something to build up again, will I go just, no computers, no chips like that? I can do, basic relays and whatnot. I understand the old electronics of things, but something that he's doing, it's like, it's not going to start. Why is it not going to start? Well, I got to hook up to a computer now and figure it all out. It's not like, oh, it's the carb jets are plugged, or it's this or that thing. So yeah, it's a whole new world. But if you're all about it, there's a community out there to help you along. Definitely.
Yeah. No matter what, you can find people to support you and to be on that journey with you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the motorcycling community is just how supportive this community is to uplift one another. And that's honestly been one of the things that have really just kept me going as an individual. Talking about like the mental health aspect, there's so many people like yourself connecting with you, connecting with other people through YouTube and Instagram, and just being able to find people to just be friends with and have conversations with and to support one another. And so for anyone out there who's unsure about motorcycling or getting into this community or anything like that, I say jump in head first. And I can guarantee you're going to find some people that you'll find your people. I can guarantee it. You might have to look a little bit harder. You might have to try a few different groups, but I can guarantee there's going to be some people out there for you.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, the whole social media aspect of just anything, it can be a lonely place. And a lot of times, a like is not enough. And if for me, if I see a post that I read it maybe differently than others, it justifies me to stop and say, hey, you all right? Want to talk? Mm-hmm. You don't know me, but I can just be an ear. So, yeah. I mean, if that's what it takes to help somebody along, I'm all for it. And I guess that would be part of my philosophy too. It's like, so question, is there a moto-philosophy? For me, it's like the biker on the side of the road. I don't know you. I've got tools. I carry tools with me. I'll help you. If you're struggling wherever you're at, can I help you in some way, shape, or form? I will do that. I'll reach out. I don't need just a handshake, basic thank you. That's it. I don't need to put it out there on the webs to say, "Oh, look what I did." That's one of my pet peeves. I see people like, "Oh, hey, look, I'm going to record this while I help a homeless person." I don't care for that. I think that doesn't serve a purpose except likes and follows.
Yeah,
I'd rather make really the human connection.
You're absolutely right. It's the intention behind why you're doing something, right? If you're doing something that's objectively good, but for selfish reasons, you could argue, okay, but they're still doing something good, but it's like they're only going to do it that one time, right? Where they're holding their phone and they're handing over that cash to the homeless person, and that's the only good thing they ever do, because they just want to show off to everybody, like, look what a good individual I am, like, look what a good spirit I am. And on one end, I appreciate the fact that they did at least something good, but then on the other end, it's like you can very clearly tell why they're doing it. It's not because they care about that other individual. It's because they care more about the attention that they're going to receive from that. And so that's one of those things where I always, if I ever see riders on the side of the road, I'll always stop by like, hey, you okay? And there has not yet been a time where someone's actually been in need of help. But they're always like, yeah, we're good. Thanks for stopping by and all this good stuff. And there was one time I ran out of gas. I was out riding and I ran out of gas. And I can't tell you like how many people just stopped by to be like, hey, are you okay? Like even non-riders. It was funny. They would stop and the first thing they would say is, hey, I also ride. Are you okay? They want it's that community aspect, right, where we look out for each other. And even if it's like just the 2-finger wave, just like, hey, what's up, passing by riders. And that's one of the nice things where, some people will say they have different experiences. But for me, everybody waves. There's very, very, very few people who I haven't seen wave at others. But the vast majority of the time, it's like, yeah, we're all together in this. We're all looking out for one another. We're all saying hi to one another. And, that's honestly one of those things where it's like the first time I was on a bike, people are waving. I'm like, oh, that's a thing. All right, I got to start waving at people now.
Oh gosh, the first time I did that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do one-handed. I got to let go of the handlebar. Oh geez. Yeah, I was able to pull it off. And now it's just, hey, two hands. All right, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is absolutely a Moto-philosophy, and different people are going to get those different aspects of it. But I really do think there is a mental shift people go through in terms of before they start writing and then after they start writing, and just how it changes their outlook on life. I can definitely tell you for myself, I've become a much more helpful and supportive person, where if I see people that are like homeless or looking for food or whatever, I in the last few years, I've bought way more food for homeless people than I ever have in my life. And it's just the aspect of shifting the focus from it being just another person to how can I help my fellow human? How can I help other people? And that was one of the primary reasons why for the giveaway I'm doing, the third question in there is, what good deed have you done for somebody else? And to really just highlight doing something good for somebody else, no matter how big or small, just do good. It's so simple. And with all the chaos that we have in this world today, it's so simple to do something so small and good for somebody, and it just makes their entire day. You can just see their eyes light up when you genuinely help somebody and don't expect anything in return. And I can honestly say riding a motorcycle and being a part of this community it's had a physiological change in my brain for, like, I'm always looking for opportunities to help others and do good.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And I think if you're struggling to think about these things, stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about what the world thinks about it or how they'll perceive you, or, oh, will anybody notice? They don't have to notice. It's you. You're being the good human. Do whatever makes you feel good. If it is a little or big or whatever it may be, a little bit of generosity can go a long way in somebody's life. And you don't have to get anything back in return. That's not, we're only here for a short time on this planet and in this existence. So it's like time is not something we can buy. So while you're here, make an impact.
Enjoy your life, right? And yeah, you're exactly right, where we all have this blip of an existence on this giant rock that's hurtling through space. So why wouldn't you do something good for somebody else? Like, what do you have to lose? Like, honestly. And it's so profound where good begets good. So if you can start to make that shift in your mindset to how can I help somebody else today as like your default, you're going to get good things in return. I can guarantee it. And that's been my experience. And the way you train your brain is your brain is always scanning for your environment, right? Like, that's just how our brains work. We're always scanning our environments for dangers and threats and everything else. And so the same is true as also for good things. So if you're constantly looking for good things, you're going to find those good things. If you're constantly looking for ways to tear other people down and hurt other people, you're going to find those ways. So you're going to find whatever it is you're looking for. So you look for good things, you're going to find them. So that's all I'm trying to do and promote and share with other people, in all facets of my life, with work, with writing, with everything. It's just, how can I do something good, and how can I highlight are the good things? Even in a really terrible environment, there's always a little bit of good that can be found there. So it's just keeping an eye out for that.
Oh yeah. It comes down to perspective. I've said it to other people before, but it's like, you change your perspective, it changes your life. It's like, if you look at things from a different lens, stop worrying about what the world's going to think about you and your reaction. If people don't like the way you think, maybe they're not the people that you should be around. Maybe, you surround yourself with good people, and you'll see how different your life can be. I have to thank my friends that have helped me through my rough times, through my anxiety and depression. It's being able to talk to them openly without being like, oh man, just suck it up. That mentality doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can't just push everything back and swallow everything down, because it's going to surface in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And being a parent, if I never shared what I was going through with my friends, I would have had that built up anxiety and frustration, and it would have just probably unleashed on them in some way that I wouldn't want them to experience.
Right.
So it's kind of like the way I try to look at things.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and it's that. And I will fully say it is hot as hell in this room right now, so I am sweating.
I'm sweating too.
But it's that thing where you do need that positive outlet, right? Mm-hmm. It's that old thing of that toxic masculinity where it's just, yeah, you can't, if you're a man, you can't ever talk about your feelings, you can't talk about your emotions, you can't you can't be vulnerable ever with anybody. And that's where people would just blow up, and they would erupt with just this anger and this frustration and this negativity, and they would take it out on their friends and their families themselves, and they would get into these highly toxic habits. And it's like, why do we have that? It's you need to have that community of people where you can be vulnerable and you can be outspoken and you can connect with them on a fundamental and vulnerable level of just, hey, look, I got some stuff going on and I just need to talk about it and get it off my chest, or I need help, right? And having those people where you can just go to and say, I need help, and have them there actually genuinely help you and care about you, that can literally change your life outlook. And if not, just change your life fundamentally. So if you don't have that, I highly recommend, try and go out and find your people, right? Find your community, because it really, truly does make a difference. Don't try and take the burdens of the world on by yourself, because very, very, very few people I've seen come out of that, in a good light. It's right. Incredibly difficult. And we as humans are meant to be social beings. We're meant to connect with one another. We're not supposed to do all this stuff on our own. But that's honestly, kind of taking it back to writing. When you are having those bad moments, when you are having those bad emotions, and you're stressed out and you're anxious or you're depressed or anything else that you got going on, writing is such a cathartic and therapeutic experience where it's like, all right, you feel terrible, go ride. And quite frankly, you're going to feel better as a result of it. And I did a little bit of research into this, and I was curious what actually happens in your brain when you go ride. And other people have talked about this as well, but it's very similar to meditation, where you are literally focusing your brain and just eliminating all the other distractions. Like, you can't think about all this other stuff that's going on that's really bringing you down, because you have to focus on the present. You have to focus on what's in front of me right now so I don't die. And the same thing happens with meditation, where it's you're focusing the brain. And I don't know if we want to get scientific. I can talk about cortisol and all that other stuff.
I'm game for it. But by the way, we are not licensed therapists, so I'm not, at least. This is just a couple of people, how they've experienced things and how we've managed to figure things out on our own. But please, I'm not going to stop you. You go right ahead.
Yeah, a good point. You probably shouldn't listen to anything I say. I am probably the last person you should be taking medical advice from and all this other stuff. So I can just talk about my experience and what far, far, far smarter people have talked about. So I'm just kind of going from that perspective. So yeah, thank you for calling that out. We are not therapists. Don't take any medical advice from us, blah, blah, blah. So I studied psychology back in college. And one of my favorite aspects of that was the neuropsychology. So what actually happens in your brain chemically when certain things are happening. And so typically what happens when we're stressed out is we have very high levels of cortisol, which is kind of like that stress hormone, to just oversimplify it. And in small amounts, it's actually good because this is what primes our bodies to be, physically active, like that flight or flight response, right? If there's a threat coming at us, our body gets pumped with cortisol to help us react to it in a good way to help us survive. But 9 times out of 10, we're not physically active. We're just kind of sitting around and we're still getting these stressful stimuli. So our bodies just get over flooded with this stress hormone. And when you go out and ride, the study actually found that when you go out and ride, it decreases your cortisol levels by up to 25%, and it increases other hormone levels that are associated with positive feelings. So this is where you literally feel better after you go ride, like neurochemically, because your body is going through these changes when you go ride. So it's almost like you should, there's never not a good reason to ride beyond it's not safe for you to go ride. So it's like, it literally does become a form of therapy, chemically speaking, as far as I can tell. But, there's countless riders who have gone out and said, like, yeah, this is my therapy. This is what I do to help relieve stress and relieve anxiety and do all this good stuff. And, I've never gone out riding and come back feeling worse than when I left. It always comes back feeling more positive and happy I did it. Even if it was a terrible ride and I got stuck behind people and I was crawling the whole time, or it was just not a great, as good of an experience as it typically is. Mm-hmm. I still come back feeling pretty good at the end of that. It's like the worst day of fishing type of analogy. It's like you're still going to have a good time even if you don't catch anything. So
nice. No, I think you touched up on it. It's even when you're stuck in traffic, you're still riding on a bike. You're still out. It's kind of living in the present, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of motorcyclists try to do is be in the present. I mean, you have to. You can't be stuck in your thoughts. And like you said, you're stressed out. You're sitting on the couch, stressed out because you're thinking of everything that's happened in the past. You're stuck, and if you're not doing anything with it besides just sitting there and just stewing on it, it's not good for your health.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely got to live in the present. I like how you said it was like meditation, and you're absolutely right. And maybe that's one of the tools that you use. It's like I've tried meditation. I listen to my body too much. It makes too many noises. It kind of bugs me out of the thing. I have, I'll admit it, I've tried yoga, and yoga seems to be interesting. It's for me, it's listening more to how my body reacts and pushing myself, and again being in the present, and just kind of just being connected with myself, because I think one of the things I've learned through riding a bike is that understanding everything that's going on, and understanding myself, like every physiological change, every shift in weight, every movement I do, it attributes to the direction I'm going. It attributes to everything that's going to happen in the next 1 second. But just constantly being there in the present is, for me, it's huge.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that was it for me in terms of what hooked me, was that it forces you to be in the present. Because in my head, and I'll get a little bit vulnerable right now. I was recently diagnosed with some mental issues, and my whole life, my brain was just always a million miles an hour, right? I'm always thinking about, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm always thinking about what is every possible thing I could say, and how would they react to that. If I'm at work and I'm talking to my boss, or I'm talking to another superior, I get incredibly nervous because I'm like, okay, I got to say all the right things. I got to have all the right impressions, and I just got to make them happy. So if that means I got to sacrifice myself and have like a horrible experience, but it makes them happy, I'll do it. And so really just self-sacrificing, and just my brain always working overload to try and accommodate all of these scenarios, 99.9% of which are absolute BS and would never happen. But that's just the way my brain works. And so that's where writing was like, no, it literally forces me to focus on here and now. And that is where I was like, I feel so different. Like I feel like I'm a different person. I feel like I've been released from this cage. Like I feel I can actually stop and take a breath and really just be a human and not be so paranoid and worried about all this other stuff that's been going on. But that's where I've also been doing a lot of different things. So I did yoga for a while, stopped for no good reason. I absolutely need to get back into doing it because I got horrible back pain. But the other things that I've been doing was doing meditation. That was one of the therapists I've been talking to. She recommended a few apps that I go through, and that's one of the few things that I've really stuck with long term. Because honestly, that's what helps me sleep. Because my mind just keeps going. So I have horrible insomnia most nights just because I can't sleep because my brain won't stop firing. And then also doing journaling. So one of the things that I do all the time is journaling. And I talked about this in one of my videos where I talked about my New Year's resolution, where I don't actually do New Year's resolution. I do a New Year's theme. And the guy who made this journal, you should go check out his channel. It's CGP Gray. Highly recommend him. He does some really cool stuff. But he created this journal where it's called the theme system. And it's really a great opportunity to practice thankfulness. And every day, I'll open it up and I'll go to a blank page. So every day there's a few boxes in here where you have to write down something you're thankful for, and then it just gives you an opportunity to write things down, just to brainstorm. There's things in here for habit tracking, so you can fill out like different circles in terms of tracking what your habits are and the things you want to improve. So it's super simple, but this is also one of the things that's been very helpful for me. In addition to writing and everything else, because for me, mental health is a very holistic system. It's not something that you do at a point in time. It's something you got to continue to do for it to really take traction and for you to see the benefits of it. So on the days where I can't go out writing, those are the days I'll typically try to focus more in terms of my meditation and journaling and all the other healthy habits that I'm trying to incorporate into my life. Because I know if I don't keep up with those, that's when I'll start to backslide into all of that negativity and that anxiety and all the other things that we're all trying to get away from.
Right. No, that's really interesting. It's one of the things that I use. Still speaking about tools, is my brother introduced me into Stoicism. It's just Greek philosophy. It's when you say stoic, it's not, you're not a statue. It's not, you're not feeling. It's the fact that you're now trying to look at the world in a different lens, trying to be in more control of you, because everything around you is a variable. Like when we ride, everything is a variable. The only thing that is under your control is your actions, your emotions. So following that's helped me a lot to put things in different perspective, and actually has attributed a lot into the way I ride too. So and journaling is actually a huge part of it too. I'm not much of a writer. I write things to throw away the notes because it kind of sticks in my brain. That's kind of like my thing that I do. But go ahead.
And that's the beauty of us as humans, is different things work for different people. So it's all part of this grand experiment to just figure out what works for you. For my wife, she does hardcore journaling. Like she'll do the stickers and she'll do the special tape and she'll do the different colors and she'll organize all the stuff in her journal. For me, I can barely be bothered to write 2 lines in this a day. But you're right. It's that physical act of writing really is what locks it in. And going back to that topic of, for me, the reason why I'm sticking with it is because of that thankfulness. So it forces you to always have that perspective of what can I be thankful for today? And it forces your brain to constantly look out for those opportunities for things to be thankful for. So as I'm going through and having interactions with people, I'll be like, oh, this is something I can be thankful for that I can write down later on tonight or tomorrow morning or whatever. But it's obviously not for everybody. So some people like it, some people don't. I've tried a few different things and I didn't like it because I felt like it was taking too much work and just didn't interest me. So, it's different things. So experiment and try things out. It's the same thing with riding. Try out different bikes, try out different routes, try out this, try out that. It's all this beautiful experiment where you can get these such different experiences just by tweaking a few things. And, I think that's really one of those things that can help to promote that experience, to keep it from getting boring. If it ever does get boring, it's just to try different things, right? And just to keep that spark alive and to keep that flame going.
No, that's absolutely a great recommendation. I think a lot of people get stuck into like, oh, I'm a Harley rider. Oh, I only ride these types of bikes. It's like, you know what? It's not going to break you or hurt you. Try something different. Turn this way instead of that way one day. For me, I like following in a group ride. However, I haven't led yet. I mean, I can lead if it's just a couple of buddies of mine. Sure, not a problem. But a large group, I have yet to lead. And that's something that I need to just get the guts up to do it, because I don't want to leave anybody behind. It's like, am I really going to enjoy the ride too much? I don't know. But if I don't try it, I'll never know.
Yeah, I've led a group ride once, and it was through a Facebook group. They were like, hey, we're going to go ride. Who wants to come? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll join. This was like early into the pandemic. And so I ended up leading the group, and it's definitely a different experience, because I was getting paranoid about what you're talking about. Like, is everybody with me? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Especially when it's a group of people you don't really know.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I was so paranoid about all of these different things and trying to care about everybody, making sure that everybody else had a good time, that I was just so exhausted by the end of the ride. I was just like, all right, I gotta go home now. But it was a good experience, so I would recommend trying it out. Just learn the hand signals and everything else, so you can communicate with everybody as you're riding. But yeah, try out different things, and communication in advance is a very important thing when it comes to group rides. That's my only little bit of advice there.
Nice. Any other recommendations you might have for others? Anything from the philosophy to therapy to anything.
Other recommendations. Keep at it. Be tenacious. If something doesn't work for you, try something else. Don't ever give up just because it was hard or you didn't get the results you liked. It's one of those things where you never really know how close to success you are until you get there. So just be tenacious and keep on experimenting, keep trying out different things, because what do you have to lose? That's like what it is for me. It's like I can choose to wallow and sit in my anxiety and sit in my negativity and just have that victim mindset of everything happens to me. Mm-hmm. Or I can make a fundamental shift in my mindset and choose to act despite the negativity, despite the anxiety, despite all this other stuff, and really just be able to see the beauty in the world and everything that's around you. There's a great quote. I can't remember who I heard it from. I've heard it a few times, but it's stuff doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. So when you have these really terrible, horrible, rough experiences, it can be one of those things where it can make you stronger if you let it. And if you just change that mindset to, this is happening for me, and this is going to help me get stronger, and this is going to give me experiences that I'll draw from for the rest of my life, that really gives you more ownership in terms of what's going on in your life and how you can really be in the driver's seat versus I'm stuck in the passenger seat, or I'm stuck in the trunk of this car and I have no control over where my life is going. So just be tenacious and keep at it. It's very difficult. I'm still figuring it out. By no means am I, am I the one to be the one to say I figured it out. I'm still working on it every single day, but you just got to keep at it. That's the only bit of advice that I have.
No, that's good. Actually, that attributes to a couple things from the Stoics. It's amor fati. It's love of fate. It's no matter what, your fate may be written. How you get there should be your choice, though. But you have to love it. You have to appreciate. And another thing that they say is the obstacle is the way. So sure, it's okay to fail, but every failure is a lesson. Learn from it, because then you will succeed.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's really going back to my core values. Know what your core values are. For me, I have two values. Very simple. what can I learn today? How can I help other people? Very simple. And that's the same thing I go into every single job interview. I ask the question, how can I continuously learn and how can I help other people? If they can't answer that question, it's not the right job for me. If there's a very clear path where I can live my values, then I'll keep that conversation going. So that's the other thing, is just know what you care about, know what energizes you, and know what your passions are. So when you go and do them, you're living your life to what you think your purpose is meant to be. And to the point that you mentioned earlier about it's the journey, it's the same thing with motorcycling. You have control over what journey you take. You have control over what roads you take and how you ride and when you go ride and how can you prepare for that ride and everything else. Riding is one of those things like, no, I'm going to go ride come hell or high water. It's like, okay, well then why can't you treat that mentality to other things in your life, right?
Right.
So there's so many parallels between writing and life. You could probably write books on it, honestly.
Absolutely. All right. You got some time for some Q&A? Let's see if there's any questions out there. I've got a lot there, but let's see. I'm going to scroll through the comments here. If you guys are still hanging around, go ahead and post your question on there. But looks like we've got Ricky Bobber's on here too. It looks like we had a lot of people on here. And
yeah, I was taking a look at the comments as they were going through. Ricky, to your comments on making a video, I've been working on this video for the last couple of weeks on this, specifically this topic. So it's still a ways from being done. I'm trying to get some other content done first. But yeah, I'm making a video on this, so keep an eye out for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't see any outstanding questions on there, but and let me see. No, there's some good pieces on there. I'll have to go through the comments afterwards, and any comments that I see in the live chat. If it requires an answer, I'll be happy to answer it in the comments, and so will Valorcycle as well.
Yeah.
All right. I think with that, one more thing on here, one piece of advice that I give and use myself is.
I think I already answered this question.
Yeah, I think you did.
Advice that I give myself, it's that same thing, right? It's, if you're gonna give somebody else advice, you better live it yourself. Because I cannot stand hypocrisy. So I will be the first person to say, if I can't lead by example, which is what I usually try to do through my videos, and try to share positivity and goodness and all this other stuff, and try to help others. And so if I can't lead by example, then you shouldn't listen to me. I mean, generally you might not want to listen to me in general, but it's that thing of if you want, it's that quote of be the change you want to see in the world, right? So I want the world to be a more positive place, and I want us as humans to help one another regardless of creed, sex, gender, identity, anything else. Like, we should be helping each other and supporting one another. And so just striving to live by that and to be thankful for everything I have. I am absolutely blessed to have such a fantastic family with my wife and daughter and my extended family and everything else. It's just, I am absolutely blessed and do not deserve it and absolutely take it for granted. So having those daily reminders to just appreciate the good things you have in life, just take that moment every now and then just to take a breath, take a step back, just get out of your head for a second and just recognize the good in the world.
That's awesome. Now, yeah, if you can't, if you're the chef and you can't eat your own food, you shouldn't be cooking, kind of thing. I think for myself, one thing I tell folks is like, especially when they're down on some hard times, it's like, don't look behind you, eyes forward, chin up, keep going. Because all you have to do is just keep going. Don't look behind you. The past is the past. It's gone. Past doesn't exist anymore. What's here is you. What's next is up to you.
Yep. Same thing with writing. You always look forward. You don't look behind you. You don't look where you've been. You're always looking forward, right? So same thing with writing. Just keep that mentality. Stay forward. Keep looking forward, and you're going to get there.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a few questions.
Let's see. What do
So
you
Ricky
see?
Bobber, Valor, what's the longest ride you've been on in one sitting? I want to say close to 300 miles. Um, that was a fun day. Honestly, I could go for much longer if I had the time and didn't have a young child to get home to. So that's on my bucket list, is to basically do like a coast to coast ride. But that's probably going to be a long ways away.
Yeah, nice. That's one of my things. One day, is it going to be this year? Probably not. My longest ride was probably good 6 hours on the bike. But I crawled through Chicago. I went up the Lake Michigan shore and all through, side streets and whatnot, all the way up to Milwaukee. And that took a nice long time. However, it's amazing the roads that are hidden in Chicago. Take away the traffic and all. It's you see some good things.
I've been playing with the idea of trying to do the Iron Butt challenge, but I don't know if that's realistically going to happen.
Oh, I know. I think I could probably do half an iron butt. I don't know. I really don't enjoy highway riding though.
Oh
It's
no, you're not doing it for the enjoyment. You're just doing it so that way you could say you did it. Yeah, no, highway riding sucks.
No, I could probably sleep on my bike better than riding it for 1,000 miles.
Well, the amount of tech that goes into it, yeah, just get yourself a Goldwing and then you'll be good to go.
Hey, Junior. Aloha, fam. All right. Anything else on here that you see?
How much riding do you both normally do on average each week?
Well, for me, it's summer. Spring is just here, so it's riding season now. I gotta say, at least 300 miles a week.
I'm jealous. That's not enough is my answer. I'm if with work and family and everything else, I'm lucky to go out maybe an hour or two a week. This last week, I had the opportunity to go into the office, and so I was able to commute to work every single day. So that was a nice little break. But generally speaking, I'm probably 150 miles a weekend, with a very, very, very strong desire to do a lot more if I had that opportunity. But I can't do it in good faith just because I don't want to leave my wife at home with a dog and a baby to take care of by herself, because that's not fair. I can't be the one to get all the fun in the weekend.
I hear you. I hear. One of the comments I saw popped up there is this one, making sure to be thankful for what you have instead of being upset, frustrated for what you don't. That is a good point right there. And like you've said it, and I know Purple on 3 says it. Starting each day with a bit of gratitude. It's be thankful. Be thankful that you just woke up, that you have another day in front of you.
Yeah. Especially nowadays with all the craziness going on and wars and everything, it's like, some people didn't wake up. So it's even just that smallest little thing is something you can appreciate.
Yeah, I know. It's and by the way, if you haven't, I know I have, donate to anything that can help the refugees and the whole mess that's going on there. It's I don't want to ever see us in we're lucky to be where we live. We're absolutely lucky. But to even try to imagine their life torn upside down, I I have no clue where to even empathize with it, because I haven't been in that place.
One of my colleagues, he lives in Ireland. He's actually taking in refugees, and they're literally going to be living at his house. So I was talking to him today, and he was saying there's a small family who just got out of Ukraine and got into Poland. So that was really the big milestone, was if they can get into Poland, then there's a very strong likelihood they'll be able to make it all the way to Ireland. So he's literally taking in refugees, and so I was like, and it's absolutely insane, some of the stuff that they're going through. The closest experience I have to that is when I was younger. I lived in the Middle East, and I had to go to school with charcoal and a handkerchief in case of a chemical attack by a neighboring country. So there, they didn't really have earthquake drills. They didn't have it. They had chemical attack drills. So we had the handkerchief and the charcoal in the front pocket to use as a makeshift gas mask. So I definitely remember that, but that's the closest experience I have to anything that they're going through, and it's not even remotely close. It was just a risk thing versus they're actively going through it. So it's absolute insanity what's going on there. But yeah, if there's any way, there's a huge opportunity to do good in the world, right? Despite all the chaos and the insanity that's going on there, there's opportunities to help and to do good for people that you don't know. So anything that anyone can do to support, refugees losing their homes, losing families, whatever, do it. Don't think about it. Just go on and do it. Because if we as humans stop helping one another, it's a very, very, very fast plummet from there.
Yep. Yeah. Downward spiral, but no bottom.
Yep.
All right.
So let's end on something a little bit more positive.
Yeah. Let's see. Gosh, it's like I'm like, boy, that kind of like took me off to the side.
That really sucked out the wind, huh?
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Here's something. So Dad on a Bike commented on the PTSD aspect.
Yeah.
And when we did a test live stream, we were talking about that just a little bit. And that's one of those things that I also find extremely intriguing in terms of writing being a viable form of therapy, because you'll hear anecdotally a lot of veterans who ride and who suffer from PTSD, and they use writing as an outlet to help them with that. And so it goes back to that whole thing of you're literally changing the chemistry and the structure of your brain. And so, I'd be really curious to see what is the efficacy of that in terms of being a legitimate therapeutic experience, especially for those with, PTSD or suffering from other things. That's one of my super long-term life goals, is to create a charity specifically to help people who have mental disorders or mental illnesses, and making that something that's much more widely available, because today it's really, really hard to get access to those resources. So long-term goal, once I figure out how to gather resources and the right people and to create an organization and to do all that stuff, really long-term goal is to create some type of way to get more mental health services to the people who need them, and maybe incorporating writing into that. So if it means like, hey, you're suffering from PTSD, let's get you on a bike and see, do that. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea the viability of any of that, but I think that's a cool concept. So that's something that
it would be. And you know what, actually, because you said this, in the description for this stream, for this video, you'll see it's the suicide prevention number. But again, if you need to talk to somebody, give them a call. If you need to talk to anybody, you could reach out to me. Valorcycle, you could find us on Instagram. I'd be happy to just listen and whatever it may be that you need. Just if it's just an ear to listen to, just, hey, I'm not going to say no. Unless you're going to try to sell me an iPhone, or I want an iPhone
or an extended warranty.
Exactly. Please, you don't want my car to have an extended warranty. I've got 180,000 miles on it. It's already 12 years old. Yeah,
absolutely. The same thing with, I consistently, I don't do a good enough job of it, to be honest. But to connect with, the people that I care about deeply, like all of my friends and everything, and just checking in, saying, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? And, likewise, if there's anybody who just needs an ear or just wants to reach out and just chat, I try to be as available as I realistically can be. But if you just want to chat and just say, get something off your chest and just vent, I'm a good listener. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But find your people, find your person, find someone that you can always go to and who's going to be there for you. Find your ride or die.
Damn right. Damn right. All right, buddy. Well, why don't we go ahead and end it here? I think this was awesome. This is a great discussion. I'm glad that we were able to make this work out. Again, anybody that's watched, if you're going to watch it down the road and whatnot, find us on Instagram. You'll find our channels. Even when you comment, I know I respond to virtually every comment that it's on my videos. I'm not a huge channel, so I have that luxury.
Yeah, same. Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolute pleasure to be here. I would say this has been, the first live stream I've ever been on, and I had a ton of fun. So would love to do more if you and others would welcome me back. I don't know if people like to hear me ramble about stuff for an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, but I had a great time. So I would love to come back.
This was absolutely awesome. We'll have to definitely do it again. We can do less serious subjects as well too. So if it's a day that everybody wants just to grab a beverage and just chit chat, by all means. I know for me, I try to keep things a bit on the cleaner side because my kids, they'll watch this. I mean, their heads are in YouTube land anyway. But yeah, it's like I just want to make sure that when we do this, it doesn't have to be all debauchery and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm likewise. Like I try to keep my channel pretty clean, just because I heard some other people with it, they're being family oriented and other things like that. So I try to keep it pretty clean. The irony is I swear on my daughter way more than I do anybody else. So I care more about other people's daughters and their families than I do on my families.
I'm very selective about my swears with my kids because they don't listen 95% of the time until I drop a swear. And then it's all like, oh man.
I'm just waiting for that time where I accidentally swear and she starts saying it because she's picking up on all the words now. So I'm just waiting for that time one of us will do it.
When it happens, you're just going to laugh and you're going to try to be serious about it and you're still going to laugh.
Yeah, and then she's going to repeat it because she knows she's laughing. And so, yeah, it's we already know it's a losing battle. So, but thanks again for having me on. Would love to continue this and next time let's maybe have a little bit more lighthearted. This is an intense but important topic.
Absolutely. Excellent, sir. Well, you have yourself a great evening. Thanks everyone for joining this evening, and we'll see you down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Bye all.